Hey Gunners, rough, rough evening. Really, really disappointing. Really difficult game. I'm not one that rushes to judgment too quickly. I like to take my time. I like to analyze, remove the emotion from the game. It doesn't mean to say don't get frustrated and angry and ecstatic when they play well. And I'm an emotional fan. I've been a fan for over 30 years. But as a coach, I like to analyze away from emotion. So I've taken a little bit of time before putting this video together. I feel that I'm still an Arteta in guy. I know a lot of you are probably thinking, what? Why? I just feel that he hasn't had the preseason. The preseason is really important because the preseason is a period of time where you pretty much get every day on the field to train. And for most of the season, this season, he's been playing, or they've been playing 2 times a week. 2 times a week takes 2 days out for training, plus then 2 rest days out for training, plus time to travel. And so you end up with much less in terms of training days. I think Arteta needs training days so that the players can pick up the ideas. I can see the improvements. I can see what he's trying to do. I just think a consistent block of time will allow him to get that message over and get the players practiced enough. So I'm looking forward to the new season, kind of already. He's not going to get sacked. It doesn't matter what any of you think. He's not going to get sacked. The Cronkies are, they believe they've got the right person. They believe that he needs time to put his stamp on things, and they'll give him that time. So I think he's got one more year. If things are terrible like they are now in terms of league position, in terms of performance and in that kind of thing, then maybe just before Christmas. But for now, he's safe in his job. So moving on to the game tonight. I was confident. I was confident because Arsenal on their day, Arteta's Arsenal, when they're on song and when they're on, they're all kind of switched on their day, they are very good at getting in behind people, and they like to get in behind people to the byline, the pullbacks, and have that second line of attack finishing, or having crosses for forwards to finish. That's basically how they have to play at the moment, because they play against a lot of teams that sit in low blocks. You never really got the sense that Villarreal were going to come and sit in a low block. And so, I was confident that we'd have space, we'd be able to attack in, getting behind a lot more often. And so leading into the game, I think even this morning I tweeted, I'm feeling quite comfortable, feeling quite confident, no nerves. And then I saw the lineup, and I just feel like it was a bad decision to, for you to try and play with a false 9. And even though you would have had a few days in training where you could kind of work on it, it just didn't work. We didn't have anybody rotate, so it wasn't like you'd have Smith Rowe, who it looked like most of the time was kind of occupying that 9 position. It wasn't like you'd have Smith Rowe pull wide towards Pepe, and Pepe would make a diagonal running behind him to become the forward. It wasn't like Smith Rowe would come short and Odegaard would go long. It wasn't like, there wasn't enough movement between the front 4. But what you've got is nobody up there stretching the line. And if you're wanting to build up, and if you're wanting to play in midfield, you need to have a striker that's going to stretch the line, get those defenders pulled backwards, open up the space between their defense and their midfield, so we can get into that space. And Odegaard, has had some very good games, and those games where Odegaard's had those very good games, it's because we've had a threat in behind. We've had Lacazette looking to go in behind. We've had Aubameyang looking to go in behind. And so that kind of keeps that defense honest and opens up that room, those little pockets for him to get into. Today, it just didn't happen. No rotation, nobody pulling on their back line to try and get their back line to drop off. And basically, if you're going to have all of the attacking players come into midfield, well, it allows the opposition's defense. So Villarreal's defense did a really good job of being very aggressive and pressing up and pushing up, and we basically couldn't get started. We couldn't even keep the ball in their half for extended periods of time. And so, you know, that was disappointing. I'm not quite sure where that decision came from. I'm sure Arteta feels that he's using what he's got, but we know, look, Martinelli could play. And I'll touch on Martinelli in a little bit. Martinelli could have played as a centre forward. I don't think he's a centre forward, but he could have played in centre forward. And the thing you know about Martinelli is you're going to get hard work. You're going to get some quality, especially in front of goal if he gets a chance. But he's going to look to run in behind. He's going to look to be that kind of, you know, that deep threat that's looking to go in behind and drag those defenders away. So, you know, it would have been, I think it would have been a good idea for him to have started the game. Going, again, looking at the lineup, Xhaka at left back. For a few games, when it was an experiment, it was fine. You know, they did a good job with the rotations between Xhaka, and because Xhaka doesn't push forward to become, you know, a winger, which then releases the wide forward to come inside. We had Ceballos going out there doing that, which would open up a pocket inside for that player, that attacking player, to go inside. But it's a very, very easy thing to clock onto, and it's a very, very easy thing to nullify. I feel like whenever they got the ball, I don't know how to pronounce the guy's name, Chukwueze or something, their right forward was always very high. And so whenever they got the ball, he was an out ball. And I would love to have seen Cedric play as a fullback, someone who's going to push high, who's going to go in behind what turned out to be Pepe on the left-hand side. And that pulls Chukwueze back. And so when they're looking to counter, they don't have as many players, you know, higher up the field. So they're going to have to slow down their attacks to allow players to start to push out and get to support the ball. And yeah, it's disappointing. I think we've become a little bit easy to predict, especially with Xhaka in that left back. But then also, when you don't have Xhaka in that left back, and you've got a player like Ceballos reminds me a lot of Guendouzi in that, you know, he's almost like a puppy with sort of boundless energy, but is overly excitable and wants to chase every ball. You can't be like that when you're playing in centre midfield. You know, in the attacking phases, looking to move and check and find space, and move and check and find space is great. But when you're not in the attacking phase, when you're in that transition phase, when you're in that defensive phase, discipline. It's all about discipline. You've got to be in your position. You've got to make sure you're closing the spaces. You've got to make sure you're protecting lines. You can't, you can't be caught out of position. And I just feel like in defense, Ceballos goes out and presses stuff when he shouldn't, and that leaves holes. Xhaka doesn't do that in midfield. Him and Partey are our strongest midfield pairing, and we look most solid when those two are next to each other. So my solution would be to either play Cedric there, and I've put this on sort of teams that I've posted out that I'd like to see. I just don't understand why Saka doesn't go to left back. Play Saka as a left back. He'd done a good job there before. He can defend fairly competently, probably about the same, the same level as a fullback as Xhaka, but he's definitely got the attacking side of things. So if you've got Saka going forward, going past Pepe, you're almost guaranteed their right forward's going to have to come back with him. Otherwise, it's 2v1s down that side all the time, and they're going to skin them and they're going to score or create chances. And I think playing Saka there then allows Xhaka to come into the field where we've been deficient recently. So I say play Saka at left back. What about the attacking threat that Saka poses? Well, we've got players that can cover that. We can put Pepe up there. We can put Martinelli up there. Players who are good attacking players who can do the job. So yeah, this is a head scratcher for me. I don't quite understand the reluctance to play Saka at left back when it's kind of how he emerged in the team. It's kind of how he came out, playing left back for a few weeks, to the point where it was almost like he didn't like it, and you could tell he didn't like it. That's how often he did it. And then you have Martinelli. I'm sure, again, Arteta feels he's got a justifiable reason for why Martinelli isn't starting games. I mean, I understand with the whole injury thing, Arteta has said he feels Martinelli's got a lot to learn. And maybe Arteta, it seems, looks to think about his substitutions in terms of the tactical change, rather than what kind of everybody else looks as the substitutions as a way of changing a tempo or changing the momentum. As a coach, I make changes when I feel like there needs to be a change in momentum. Yes, you also make changes when you need a change in kind of tactics. So if you're winning the game and it's late in the game, you might put on extra defenders. I get those tactical changes. I just don't feel like, or I feel like Arteta does that slightly different. So he's almost like he wants to be in a game, and then towards the end of the game, go out and make the changes that can win the game. Whereas I would rather you start the game, try to win the game, and then you can make defensive changes later because you're already a few goals up. Anyhow, every coach is different. Everybody views things different. Nobody's right or wrong. Ultimately, you're all trying to get the same result, which is the win. And so it's just, as I say, it's a head scratcher for me. I'm not quite sure. I don't understand it. Martinelli has shown that he can score. He's shown that his energy is hardworking. It seems like he's got a good attitude. So I'm sure we'll find out sort of down the line what the issue there is. But I'd like to see Martinelli start more, especially now he's months away from when he kind of first came back from that injury. Onto some positives. Pepe was very good today. I'm not quite sure what it is or what's happening with him, but he doesn't seem to thrive in the 1v1 situations like he has done in the past. I would like to see him. I mean, he was up against Foyt, who shouldn't be able to handle Pepe. And to be fair, Pepe gave him a good run around, gave him a good sort of almost not quite a lesson, but he would come short and spinning behind, and almost any time he went in behind, if the ball was weighted well, he got onto it. Obviously he's kind of drawn a potential penalty out of him, and he was lively. He was lively, scored the penalty, did it coolly so. So, I would like to see Pepe get a run of games. I know he's had a run of games. Part of that is because of the injuries and that kind of thing, and things have been shuffled around. But I'd like to see Pepe get a run of games. I think he deserves it. He's been pretty good. He was average against Everton, and I even in my team that I put out earlier, I left him out of it because I figured, well, against Everton, you couldn't even kind of really stress out Seamus Coleman, and so were you playing at the level you should have been playing at, and the level we know you're capable of. So I dropped him from my team as well. But I think today, it was definitely much better than it has been, and I'd like to see him get a little bit more of a run in the team. I think moving forward, what I would like to see is the game on Sunday against Newcastle, for me now, is the most important game of the season. In that game, you've got to get it right. I'm looking for you to put out the team that you're going to use in that second leg. It's very difficult when teams chopping and changing as often for players to build any kind of chemistry or understanding on the field. And so we're at a time now where you want to start to build momentum, because we've got, potentially the biggest game of our, I don't know, for 4 or 5 years coming up next week. So on Sunday, I want you to play your starting 11 that's going to play in the week. Give them a chance to play together. Give them a chance to kind of develop at least a little bit of chemistry on the field. Give them a chance to kind of become familiar with and to start to gain some confidence in knowing that you trust them. I know there's been injuries and players are kind of still coming back from injury, and so it's not always possible. But I think as much as you can, or as much as Arteta can, I think he's got to try and get as close to a core as he can. 9 players that are going to play in the week, play on Thursday, need to start this game on Sunday. So yeah, the away goal today, massive. The away goal today is massive. I think once we've got some of those key players back next week, you're looking at David Luiz, you're looking at Kieran Tierney, you're looking at the 2 main strikers. Once those players are back, we should have much more of a goal threat. And while you look at them and you look at how porous we were today, I was astounded by how many times they were able to play almost through our midfield and defensive line to get a runner in behind. I just feel like that doesn't happen with a Partey Xhaka centre midfield. So I feel like we will nullify some of their threat. I don't think they'll be as dangerous as they were today. And then it's up to whether we can create chances and whether we can take those chances. For today, the keys for the game for me were: can we play with naturally footed players on the 2 wings? In the final third specifically, Chambers didn't get forward enough for me. And on the left side, while Pepe is a naturally left-footed player, he wasn't really, you don't really want him going down the crossing, you want him coming into the box. So having an attacking fullback that will go past him, it would help. So that was one of the keys for me. It's disappointing to see that didn't happen. The second key was, can our defense be aggressive, press high on their forwards, stop their forwards from turning? I think for the most part, we did an okay job with that. It just seemed that in the transition phase, we did a better job than we did in the defensive phase. And again, I think that's because of Xhaka not being next to Partey. And then my final key for the game yesterday was, can we take the chances when they come? And we took one of the two that we hit the target with. I think Oba should have done more with his, but it is pretty much his first shot at goal. He hasn't been on the field for a while, like, played competitively for a while. So, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt on that. But going into that next game, the away goal is huge. I think that we can. I think that we can turn them over and go through. And I think Man United's a game we're much more suited to. So, interesting times ahead. You may not agree with me. That's fine. Leave comments. I'm happy to engage. You can also kind of send me messages on my social media. It's sensible_gunner on Twitter and on Instagram. And if you agree with me, if you don't agree with me, if you'd like to ask some questions, if you want to hear what I've got to say, please subscribe. And I'm looking forward, as I said on one of my previous videos, I'm looking forward to meeting more of the Arsenal fan base, getting to know a few people from a few different places, and looking to get involved with some discussion and talk, while being critical, but also being positive. So thanks for listening, and until the next time, more to come. That's for sure, more to come.